2 of your blood betrayed your spirit. God saw it. They smiled in your face, but poisoned your name. What they did behind your back is unraveling now. You weren't paranoid. You were prophetic. They hid the knife, but heaven heard the scream. You called them family. They called you disposable. Your tears were counted. Justice is gathering breath. You were never crazy, they were calculated. They touched what was sacred to you. Now, God is touching what's sacred to them. God didn't miss what they did in secret. You honored them. They cursed you. Still you rose. The betrayal came through blood, but so will redemption. They stripped your trust. Now heaven is clothing your name. You didn't lose your mind. You lost your illusions. They tried to block you. Instead, they unlocked you. Their dishonor put you in pain. It also put you in position. You're not imagining it, they were rooting for your downfall. You weren't the black sheep. You were the divine one. Their evil was generational. Your awakening broke it. The betrayal didn't bury you. It built your altar. They betrayed you to keep their secret safe. Your success will haunt their jealousy. The ones you defended most were the ones destroying you. Family by blood, but enemies by spirit. What they mocked will become your mantle. They stole from your peace. You'll be paid in purpose. You weren't their enemy. They just couldn't control your light. They fed on your vulnerability. Now you're fasting from their lies. One prayed for your downfall. The other planned it. You kept their secrets. They exposed your wounds. You didn't deserve the betrayal. You were their blessing. The ones who hurt you deeply will soon need your mercy. They buried you in gossip. God is resurrecting you in glory. Their silence was agreement. Their hugs were hypocrisy. They knew what they were doing, and they did it anyway. You carried the guilt of what they caused. They called it family. You called it survival. You honored them with tears. They repaid you with shame. Their wickedness was learned. Yours was unlearned in fire. You were loyal to a lie. God is now revealing truth. They built your exile. God's building your empire. They feared your light, so they dimmed your name. You outgrew the table they kept poisoning. One betrayed you for approval, the other for control. The pain is not imagined. It's inherited. You were the scapegoat, now you're the storm. God is calling your name louder than their curses. The betrayal was real. So is your rising. Their season in your life is over. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, comment your favorite quote and subscribe for more. They called you dramatic. God called you delivered. Their cruelty was generational. Your survival is prophetic. They wore titles they never earned. Brother, sister, elder, safe. You were the offering they sacrificed to protect their image. 2 relatives, same blood, same betrayal. They saw your light and grew cold in its warmth. One watched you fall. One pushed. You were blamed to keep their guilt hidden. You were never their scapegoat. You were their soul mirror. They touched you in darkness. Now God is uncovering truth. The betrayal was calculated. Your healing will be divine. They mocked your pain. Heaven marked it holy. You lost trust. They lost grace. You stayed silent. They stayed wicked. They made you question your worth. God is making you untouchable. You kept protecting them. They kept destroying you. They shared your secrets like trophies. Your honesty ruined their illusion. They disowned you emotionally long before they showed it. You kept the family together. They kept the lie alive. They built a kingdom of shame and expected you to bow. You were never the broken one. You were the awakened one. They turned others against you, but heaven stood for you. They denied it to others, but they confessed it in their dreams. God is about to flip the very table they gossiped at. The ones who said blood is thicker were the first to spill yours. You didn't destroy the family. You exposed the foundation. Their hands are dirty, but yours are free. They called it discipline. Your soul still calls it abuse. God never asked you to endure that pain silently. One silenced your truth. The other reshaped it. They left bruises no one saw. But God counted everyone. You weren't weak. You were alone in a room of cowards. They laughed when you cried. Now they cry when they remember. They called it tough love. It was generational harm. The same mouth that blessed you also cursed you. They played savior and villain in the same scene. You begged for love. They gave you survival. They saw your light. They chose to shade it. You forgave them too many times to count. Heaven noticed. They used your loyalty like currency. You were their mirror. They couldn't face what they saw. They buried their sin under your silence. Your love was pure. Their agenda wasn't. They shaped your childhood with wounds, not wisdom. One smiled as you shattered. The other handed them the hammer. They stole your safety and blamed your sensitivity. You carried a burden that wasn't even yours. They envied your spirit. They tried to break it. If this touched your soul, don't scroll. Like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. They mistook your forgiveness for forgetfulness. God will restore what they buried under shame. You weren't weak. You were unguarded around wolves. They made you feel crazy to cover their cruelty. The ones who hurt you most shared your last name. You were more mature than both of them. They took what they never gave. You kept the peace. They kept their secrets. Their betrayal wasn't confusion, it was convenience. They taught you love through punishment and control. One manipulated, one abandoned. Both left scars. You became the villain in their story for surviving. They twisted truth until you couldn't trust yourself. They wore religion like armor and sin like perfume. You were the child that saw too much, too early. They used tradition to hide their trauma. Their power was fear. Yours is revelation. They watched you bleed and asked why you were crying. Their absence hurt less than their presence. God never needed their approval to bless you. You were born to break what broke them. They loved your obedience, not your soul. Your healing will embarrass their lies. They wanted your silence more than your joy. You weren't rebellious. You were remembering who you are. You were never the problem. You were the prophecy. They shamed you for pain they caused. What they covered in secrecy, God will uncover in justice. They created the fire. You walked out holy. You didn't lose a family. You lost a facade. The truth is finally louder than their narrative. One pretended they didn't know. The other hoped you'd never tell. You healed alone. They never even said sorry. They never expected you to speak up. Their betrayal birthed your calling. You broke the cycle without breaking yourself. They feared your voice. That's why they tried to mute it. You cried through prayers they'll one day need. They weaponized your love. You sanctified their hate. They may never apologize, but heaven is already repaying you. You didn't lose family. You lost illusions. They will say you're bitter, but you were brave. You turned their curse into a covenant. You will be the reason your children know love. If this touched your soul, don't scroll. Like, comment your favorite quote and subscribe for more.